Mbali Ntuli, who's just resigned. We now talk to political analyst Khanyi Magubane for more reaction. Khanyi, very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the agenda.
A very good morning to you.
Now, with the continued apparent purge of black leaders within the Democratic Alliance, are you at all surprised with the resignation of Mbali Ntuli?
Shocked, yes. A surprise, definitely not. I think that, as you've alluded, there has been a long exodus of strong black leaders within the Democratic Alliance, whether you're talking about Lindiwe Mazibuko or Phumzile Van Dam, or you're talking about leaders like Mmusi Maimane, Herman Mashaba, John Moody, and we've recently seen the former Midval mayor, Bongani Baloyi, also resigning, and now Mbali Ntuli. I think that this is a very big blow for the Democratic Alliance. Firstly, because representation truly does matter. But secondly, I'm hoping that the Democratic Alliance will go back to the table and introspect about the type of picture that they are drawing for South Africans. Do they take time to actually introspect about what it looks like from where we are sitting and looking in? Because right now, the picture that is emerging is of a party that is cleansing itself of black leadership and not necessarily putting them in a position where they say you have 30 days to resign, or whatever the case may be, by creating an unfavorable working environment and pushing them to the point where they themselves are resigning and leaving the party. And the question that we have to ask is, what kind of leadership does the Democratic Alliance want, especially from black leaders? Because the black leaders who've left the party have been very instrumental in growing the party in your non-traditional bases, like your Black, Indian, and colored townships. And we know that in the heydays of the Democratic Alliance under Mmusi Maimane, they did extremely well, winning a number of very key metros, not through coalitions, but outright victories. And now we're seeing Democratic Alliance scrambling for coalition partners in order for them to rule in places like Tshwane, like City of Johannesburg, like City of Ekurhuleni. So when the party continuously loses strong black competent leaders, what kind of picture are they painting for us? And unfortunately, simply with the picture that is emerging is of a party that is almost unwilling to transform in the way that it needs to. We heard Mbali Ntuli now talking about the racial deficit trust, and we cannot shy away from the fact that something is intrinsically wrong within the Democratic Alliance. Whether they are able to see it or not, that's another question. But the racial tensions that continue to, to sporadically come up from time to time, what the leaders who leave the party say about the party in retrospect after they've left gives us an idea that something persistently remains wrong within the party and its inability to actually keep and retain strong black vocal leaders within its ranks.
Khanyi, you've asked a very important question that I suppose we need answers to. The DA needs answers to. Black leaders and black members of the DA need answers to the fact that what does the DA want from black leaders? I mean, Tony Leon, remember, a one-time leader of the party, once described the former leader Mmusi Maimane as an experiment gone wrong for the party. So should what is happening within the Democratic Alliance be construed as the party using black leaders and individuals as an experiment?
Well, it's an experiment that worked for them if they are going to use that type of narrative to say it's an experiment. But what were they experimenting about is the question, because remember, the Democratic Alliance is an amalgamation between the Democratic Party and the New National Party, and they came together. And where you have a party that has different political ideologies coming together, you have a liberal political party coming together with a far-right conservative party. And so you're going to have these contesting political ideologies at every given turn. And my question to the Democratic Alliance is, what scares you about strong black leadership? We know that Mbali Ntuli for many years has been vocal about the challenges within the party. She has challenged the party's social media policy ANC. She has butted heads many times with Helen Zille. She has been vocal within the structures. And in fact, one of the main reasons why she decided to run for federal leadership of the party is to start changing some of those things within the party. But for all intents and purposes, she was pushed to the periphery of the party for wanting to bring in the type of transformation that the DA is actually running away from. The DA is actually reinventing itself as a white liberal party that represents the interests of your white middle class and has become almost unapologetic about the fact that they are competitors, where maybe it could have been the ANC before, but they see parties like Freedom Front Plus and Solidarity being more of their competitors, because we know that in the past, in the last 2016 local government election, those two pro-African parties actually took a lot of DA members. And now I think that is where the DA's focus is, retaining their white membership, making themselves very clear in terms of who they represent. What does this mean for the broader political picture? It's very worrying, Simpiwe. It's very, very worrying, I have to say.
And it does look like the exodus of black leaders from the party is far from over. I mean, the party has been at pains fending off accusations of racism. So should we separate race and racism from the apparent purge of black leaders within the DA? I mean, are those narratives, intertwined?
They are intertwined. I think that you cannot have a political party that sells itself as a multiracial party that is for all South Africans and yet is still struggling to have a picture that represents all South Africans amongst their top leadership. I think that if you think back to 2016 and even before that, what has helped the Democratic Alliance to grow and become the party that it is today are the very black leaders that have been purged from the party. We know that Mmusi Maimane had his Siyanqoba rally before the 2016 elections at the Dobsonville Stadium, and that stadium was filled to capacity with the black constituents that he had been very instrumental in building. And we've seen Mbali Ntuli working the ground in townships like Umashu and Tuzuma and other outlying rural areas, building from the ground up leadership and support. John Moody has done the same in many of your colored townships across the country. And so you cannot dispute the work that they've done for the party, and you cannot dispute the role that they've played in growing the party. And so it's a sad day today when the catalysts of growth are now no longer in the party. Who does John Steenhuisen resonate with? He doesn't resonate with the majority of South Africans, but he certainly does resonate with your white middle class. And that's where it seems the DA wants, to have a stronghold. It seems they are no longer interested in actively building their black constituents, but they are more interested in retaining their white members within the party. And so when we will see the DA growing is shrinking. The DA is going to shrink. We're going to see them having legislatures because they will continue getting less votes from the constituents that they used to enjoy but no longer enjoy now.
And the DA's white leaders marveled at the likelihood that black members would see the DA's role through different eyes. When black DA parliamentarians supported forms of race-based affirmative action, which white liberals opposed on the grounds that it violates the principle, that jobs should be allocated by merit. Now, the issue of affirmative action has been a contentious one, Khanyi. Will the DA then continue to maintain its position on this issue despite bleeding black members and voters?
I think so. If you look at the policy documents that came out of its policy conference about 2-3 years ago, they talk about non-racialism. They talk about free market, type of setup. They talk about not believing in race as a proxy for disadvantage. I mean, that's a term that they've crafted within the Democratic Alliance. I think that they will continue to fight what they have termed as exclusionary laws, such as black economic empowerment and other type of laws that are there to actually compensate for previous racial disadvantage. I think that they will continue calling for non-racialism, saying that laws like BEE are actually doing more harm than good in terms of progressing the country. So I don't think the Democratic Alliance is going to change its policy position. I think they will continue where they are. However, as I've always said, my biggest critique of DA policies is that they are not very vocal on pro-poor policies, that they continue to actually craft policies that continue to maintain the status quo as opposed to craft the type of policies that actually enhance transformation in the country. So, I don't want to be a prophet of doom, Simpiwe, but I think that the current exodus of leaders that has taken place is really starting to spell, I don't want to say the end of the party, but the end of the party as we've known it. They're going to continue to shrink until they become a one-two-man party that only represents your local suburbs in Johannesburg, Durban, and Cape Town, and other suburban areas of this country.
And as you say, just a quick one, Khanyi, before I let you go, we're out of time, unfortunately. As you say that the Democratic Alliance might not be in a position to change its policy position, well, at least not at this point, but do you see the DA being a party on a downward trajectory and will likely be overtaken by parties which are perceived to be, a better version of the Democratic Alliance back in 2016?
Absolutely. I think if the DA continues on its current trajectory path, it is definitely headed towards its own demise that it created itself because of its inability to truly transform at its roots. It's one thing to have black leaders that you've just put there for aesthetics and optics, but it's another to truly and honestly believe that leadership is great leadership, whether it comes from a black leader or a white leader. The DA, I would love to see them being the bigger people in this case and actually writing positive comms, for instance, to people like Mbali Ntuli, thanking her for the role that she's played in growing the party. I would love to see the DA coming out and actually addressing what its future plans are in terms of grooming the next generation of leaders, irrespective of race. I would love to see the Democratic Alliance actually coming out and being very clear about the future of the party and the type of party that they are crafting for themselves, which at the moment they are not very clear about.
All right, Khanyi, great chatting to you. Thank you so much for your analysis.